Matthew. This was just wonderful, and the way you ended, it really, in some sense, that's the whole purpose behind this this exercise that we have taken up, Lalita, Rukmini, all of us. That in some ways, if we can catalyze giving and get people to give up at least what they don't need, you are so right that itself will be a huge dent on poverty. But thanks for all the various insights that you've made. If you see that chat window, it is packed. It is packed with various comments. Basically, everybody's saying what a wonderful point to everything that you said. So, but there are some questions and there are some concerns that people have pointed out. So I am going to go across and have those of you who have any points to make. Basically, I'd encourage you to ask questions to Matthew if you have them, and so that we can get the answers. But before I get everybody else in, I would first like to go to Dr. N.C. Saxena. Not just because Matthew mentioned N.C. Saxena at least 6 times, which is what always happens, but also because we all recognize the kind of scholarship and the kind of education that Dr. Saxena brings to this topic. So, sir, can I get you for a minute to reflect on the points that Matthew made and some of the questions that he put across to you?
In fact, Matthew spoke very well, and I'm very impressed by what he said, and very exhaustive also. But I do not know what are the facts about the funding, in the sense that civil society in India may get money either from individuals or from institutions. Now, what is the ratio of that? I do not know. Let's look at institutions. Institutions could be of 3 kinds. These could be foreign donors, these could be corporate houses through CSR, or it could be government. Now, each of these funding has its own problem. I was in charge, as Secretary of Rural Development, I was in charge of CAPART, and I was very unhappy with its functioning. I wanted to shut it down. Jairam Ramesh also came to the same conclusion. I believe recently it has been merged with NIRD, Hyderabad, but their funding is very small, perhaps only 50 crores. If you look at foreign funding on the FCRA website, it is 20,000 crores, but much of it goes to Christian missionaries or other religious endowments. And how much goes to welfare, etc., is not known. And then again with the CSR. Each kind of funding may have its own problem, because with government, what happens is the government encourages corruption. So therefore, only when you can bribe, you will get more money. Whereas corporate funding or foreign funding would go to genuine organizations. But these would be large organizations who can prepare good projects, that is one point. Also, let's not forget that 20 years back, there used to be CEDA, and NORAD, and Lenida, and Ford Foundation. They used to give a lot of money to NGOs. That source has dried up now. So it has been replaced by corporate funding. But corporate funding, as Matthew said, goes for certain sectors. And maybe one doesn't know how much is going to PM CARES, what percentage. So therefore, there are all kinds of issues. Also, then we need to have good evaluation of this funding and whether it is really helping and to what extent NGOs are collaborating with government in projects like NREGA or forestry or watershed development. Or I've read very good reports of SEVA collaborating with Ahmedabad, with Gujarat government, but one doesn't know whether these are isolated cases or there are more such cases emerging now. Now that we know that present government doesn't like civil society, they don't like independent thinkers. So the recent problems are also very, very crucial. So it's a very interesting sector to study, but perhaps one need to have more research and more empirical data to see what are the various issues and how can we strengthen philanthropy and civil society in India?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Matthew, I'm sure you agree with that. And the point that Dr. Saxena makes very importantly is about how we need to study this sector to understand it better. Amita, can I come to you? You've been typing away furiously. So
I think Ingrid can come in here. She possibly has a lot of research that she can share with the rest of us on this particular aspect. Ingrid, are you?
Sure, after you, Amita.
Yeah, I mean, over to you, Ingrid. I'd
Sure.
like to listen to you.
So this has been sort of one of the, the core reasons for my center to exist, which is, I keep saying, 20 something years ago when I crossed over to the sector, the first question I asked was, how big is the market? And I was told, we don't know. And sadly, 20 odd years later, the answer to the question is still, we don't know, but we've started to make some progress. So I can share with you, first of all, that Matthew's estimates of the different kinds of giving remain true as far as our research so our research is more or less validating what Matthew is saying. We will have a couple of reports going out in the next couple of weeks that I can share some snippets of with you. So for example, if I add up foreign funding, corporate funding, tax-exempt individual giving, then we're looking at about, funding to NGOs by the government, so grants and aid funding. Then we're looking in 2018, 2019 at a total of around 51,000 crores. What this does not include, of course, is what you might call retail giving, which is not where there's no tax exemption being sought. The good news there is we have just concluded what may be the first national scale survey of all kinds of giving. And as Matthew pointed out, the largest component is giving to religious organizations. So about close to 40% of households are reporting giving to religious organizations. When you compare that to NGOs, only 2% of households are reporting giving to NGOs. And so, if I try to estimate the money component of how that breakup works, then religious giving accounts for close to 70% of all individual giving, whereas giving to secular organizations is only about 6%. The other large components, of course, and these have gone up substantially during COVID, is giving to one's extended family and friends, giving to one's household help and other support staff and people one knows, and of course, ongoing giving across all kinds of households to beggars and so on. So this is all data that will be available in the next few weeks. That's just the sort of snapshot. One interesting finding when we talk about religious giving is that obviously the giving to religious organizations is driven by religious beliefs. But the reasons, when we ask people what their motivations were for contributing to, for example, non-religious organizations or secular organizations, 43% of the people who gave to secular organizations said that their giving even to secular organizations is driven by their religious beliefs. So I just want to sort of reinforce what Matthew was saying, that if the NGO sector is going to grow its share of giving or persuade non-givers to give, then we're going to really have to dig quite deep in sort of drawing on Indian ethos of giving, or the ethos of giving that prevails across all communities in India.
Wonderful.
Sorry, before I finish, I
Anand?
will also, I'll put it in the chat. There's a new portal called that. So Matthew mentioned Foundation Center in the US. Foundation Center has since merged with GuideStar USA and is now called Candid. And Candid has used our data to produce a fantastic portal called, I think it's called india.candid.org, where all of the data that Matthew showed you, you can drill down deeper. So you can go into a state and figure out who are the CSR donors in that state, what are they giving to? Or you can say, who's giving to gender causes, and then drill down into exactly what grants they made. So this is, if you're a fundraiser in particular for me, or you're a data geek like me, this is just a treasure trove of data. I'll put the link to the portal in the chat.
Can